three in the bag for the gold medals. So we'll see if the others have the tenacity to take it and defend their titles.
Meanwhile, it looks like we are underway here in our women's second varsity 8 final. 3 boats here. We have Fordham, Georgetown, and Drexel. So we were just talking about during that women's third varsity 8 final how Georgetown and Fordham, the only crews to field 3 8s. Well, now we can add the Drexel team into their ranks as we see Georgetown, Fordham, and Drexel, 3 boats here in the women's second varsity 8 competing for the Coleman D. Boyle Trophy.
That's right, and we are already seeing it here again. Lane 3, Georgetown.
Yeah, yesterday in the time trial, Georgetown put up the fastest time at 7 minutes and 59 seconds, but it wasn't too far out in front of Drexel and Fordham, who finished right around similar times. But again, when you start from a static start, it's kind of a different race than the time trial, and especially when you have boats next to you that you can kind of use as measuring sticks for your own speed. As you see here, approaching 1,000 meters remaining and 1,000 meters in, Georgetown with open water here on the boat from Fordham.
Exactly. You know, I'd like to actually point out some of the rowing here in this Fordham boat. Of course, we just pulled away right as I was about to point it out, but I do want to give some props here to the Fordham bow pair. Very, very sharp rowing here. And again, I think rowing a bow pair, rowing in the bow, is a very difficult position in an 8 because you oftentimes feel like you're going to be left behind. And so it's very easy for a bow to start rushing a little bit more and slamming the body weight into the stern, which really hurts the backs of the stern pair. I'm sure we've all heard a stroke pair go, oh, my back is hurting. I feel like they're slamming into the back of me. So it takes a very patient, very confident bow pair, I think, to actually be a little bit patient, like I said, back there and have a lot of self-control and also very, very technical rowing. So you can't slam into the front of that catch, and you also have to be very sharp and very deliberate with your blade work because you are helping set the boat massively. And when it comes time to needing that front wheel drive, when it matters, you are not only going to be the first one that crosses the finish line, hopefully if you're in a leading position, but you are very relied on to help set the boat. So very important up there in the bow. Just want to give some props to that Fordham bow pair.
Yeah, and here we are into the third 500 of the women's second varsity 8 final. Georgetown maintaining a solid lead over Fordham. Fordham well out in front of the boat from Drexel, and as this drone follows along, you see into this Georgetown boat. You can see the port and the starboards begin to diverge right over their knees. You can see as they get closer to the gunnels and they reach out over there, the different sides of the boat heading out into each different direction, the hypnotic movements of an 8.
You know, I'm really glad you brought that up too, because what we're talking about here, in case you can't quite see the view that we are, is these athletes are actually rotating around a pin. So they're actually sitting up and rotating their bodies around. If they're doing it correctly, they're actually staying tall at the catch. They're not actually diving down into the shell, but we want to keep that body weight very, very still on the seat as we move forward and rotate around the pin at the core as we reach with that outside hand and shoulder staying up and tall. So we really want to avoid diving down into the shell, which does offset the boat a little bit. So very well done to that Georgetown crew that we just had that beautiful drone shot of.
Yep, and just under 400 meters left to go now for Georgetown. You see Fordham peeking onto their screen as well, and a nice overhead shot here of our 2 leading boats in this women's second varsity 8 final for the Coleman D. Boyle Trophy. And you can see Georgetown approaching the final 250 meters here, just about 2 strokes before they hit those red buoys. And there they go into the final stretch here. And again, Georgetown, one of the programs we've been really highlighting all day as they continue to add hardware. This will be the 3rd gold medal in as many women races for Georgetown. They've won the women's second varsity 4, they've won the women's third varsity 8, and now they have won the women's, or are about to win, I shouldn't get too far ahead of myself, about to win the women's second varsity 8. So the last 3 women's races we've seen have all been won by the Georgetown Hoyas.
Right. As much as we would love to say that rowing is predictable, it's never over until it's over. We've seen boat-stopping crabs just strokes before the finish line, which does not seem to be happening here. You know, it seems to be going quite well for the Hoyas as we cross. So I think we can now safely say here, now that they have crossed the line, Joe, you've called it correctly here. Once again, you've been so great with the stats. Really appreciate that there. Fordham coming in next, followed by Drexel.
And Georgetown winning the Coleman D. Boyle Trophy here for the women's second varsity 8 at the 85th annual Jefferson Vail Regatta. Next up on the race course will be the men's second varsity 8 competing for the Bayer Trophy. And we'll see here as our drone brings us to